Okay, so for today, June 30th, we're going over patch 20. This is the patch that's releasing the Legendary Run, their first season in the new progression and reward system. It's also coming out with public teams, which is a new social system that makes up teaming up easier than before, and there's a couple benefits that we'll get into. Some of the things that they're highlighting, which is the seasons and then the Legendary Run, and the public teams. There's also been some other content that's been kind of shifted around. But again, I'll say that anything that's being delayed for, let's say, quality purposes, I'm going to stand behind. I don't mind delays. I mind, something launching, coming out, and then you need to revisit it and try to patch it multiple times before getting it. Like I said, better be safe than sorry kind of deal. But for the seasons, this is introducing the score awards or kind of the score rank system. This is how you're going to rank up, claim tokens. You're going to be spending these points towards the new rewards in the progression system. The Legendary Run itself is their first 10-week season. So we have 10 weeks to get to, rank 100? And then it's saying, race across the galaxy against the evil Dr. Zorbo and unlock unique cosmetics, in-game currencies, and much more along the way. In the public teams, they're saying use the social menu to easily find, join, or form a public team that brings players together and under a shared team goal and offer them themed in-game buffs. For the seasons, this is their kind of overhaul on the challenges, and it's giving you in-game rewards again. This whole thing about racing among the stars, it's that board game, and it's a Captain Cosmos-inspired board game that we're going to be going across, and our progression is represented by a little spaceship going across the board. And let's see, we have, again, 10 weeks. Every time you reach a new rank, you'll be able to claim a new reward like unique armors, camp items, weapon skins, power armor paints, consumables, perk card packs, atoms, even in-game currencies like script, caps, or gold bullion. There are 100 ranks to achieve in total during Season 1 and more than 40 new cosmetics, let's say, up for grabs along the way. All players will play using the same progression and reward path, which means everyone is working towards the same reward throughout the entire season, and I think that's actually a really important thing to realize, that kind of everybody's going to not just have a random grab bag and you're going on different pieces of the Monopoly board, if you will, but we're all going to progress in a similar way so we can kind of chip at things together. And then at the same time, even if, let's say, one person gets a little further ahead, they're like, okay, what are you stuck on? Okay, this is where I went to, complete this, or this, But it does seem like the challenges are easier, so I guess I'll see that as we start to unlock them. And then it says, starting 2 weeks after the Legendary Run begins, players will have an option to spend 150 atoms to immediately unlock the next rank and claim its reward. And they're having a note that says ranks must be purchased individually and in order. So the way I understand that is immediately somebody's going to come out and say pay to win. 150 atoms, if we're going to convert that to say that's like, let's say $1.50, 100 ranks, I guess you can say the game is pay to win because now you can spend $150 to unlock a bunch of different things. I don't think that's worth it. I also don't understand if maybe somebody can go from, let's say, rank 1 to 90 and then spend, let's say, $15 to finish off instead of like grinding it out depending on how their progression goes. I'm gonna try to keep an eye on that. I don't fully know how that works yet, but I'm already kind of waiting for people to, take out the pitchforks and say this is becoming pay to win. I would say this is an interesting kind of take on, you know, utilizing existing things like the challenge system, revamping them. We've kind of discussed how you're not gaining as many atoms, and it's kind of like a little different. A lot of people rather choose their atoms and what they want to spend it on as opposed to being kind of given certain rewards. But at the end of the day, this is going to help a lot of different players and kind of touch upon varied play styles. So I'm going to look at this as a positive. And they're saying it's also a new take on challenges, or they says take on new challenges, but I would say it's a new take on challenges. The daily and weekly challenges have received significant updates with today's patch. Daily and weekly challenges now award score instead of atoms, and completing them in the primary way to progress during a season. Nuclear Winter daily and weekly challenges now award score in addition to their other awards as well. And a big key here is they've streamlined the daily and weekly challenges you receive so that they are more straightforward and easier to complete. Earlier today, I just saw, for example, like leveling up. You don't have to level up while wearing, an asylum set or a clown outfit or any craziness like that. You can just continue and just level up. That's just one example of something that I already saw. We've also changed the number of challenges you receive on a daily and weekly basis so that they are more predictable and consistent. Okay, so that's good. Um, they're saying lifetime challenges, and this is an important one, guys. Make sure you're paying attention. Lifetime challenges like character, social, world challenges, and etc. have not been changed. They still grant the same amount of Atom rewards that they did prior to today's update. So nobody worry if you're working towards your 7,600 hours in the game and you're dying for those 20 atoms, they're still yours. You don't have to worry about losing out on an opportunity to get those gracious 20 atoms. Going down to claim your prizes, they're saying after ranking up, head back to Legendary Run progression screen to claim your rewards directly from the corresponding rank on the game board. When you unlock consumables like repair kits, okay, so this is another one too that you guys should take note depending on where you want things unlocked, right? So repair kits, in-game currencies like caps, they will only apply for one of your characters, so make sure to select the character that you want to receive that reward on. Ranks are account bound, and the rewards cannot be earned more than once per season, which is good too, because you can't just like, do laps and go between all your characters and try to maybe, I don't know, pile up 5 times the reward on one account maybe. So that is the section of like the board game and the new legendary run system. Moving on to public teams. New public team systems makes grouping up with others easier than ever and offers special bonuses. There's a new public teams tab on the top of the social menu that you can select to browse all public teams in the current world, join one, or create one. Every public team has its own team goal set by the team leader, like exploration or events, which can help you find like-minded players to join. So that's good. If you want to get a little more specific and you're trying to do events only, you can tell people like, okay, I'm going to open up a team. If you want to join, you can join. It also says you can open up the map to see where current public teams are in Appalachia, and then the team leader actually displays a special icon. And then when you hover over, it'll tell you what the goal is, and you can find out some additional info. I thought that was pretty cool. So if anybody's, a team leader, they're going to be kind of called out to be like, okay, this person's looking to do this with their existing team, or, if they're just starting a team. And they're saying there are currently 6 of these categories to choose from, and I like how they're saying they're currently 6. I'm going to use, I would say I'll look at these words like currently in hopes of them taking any feedback from us diving into these, and maybe they'll add even more. But it's saying there's currently 6 to choose from: hunting, roleplay, events, exploration, building, or casual. And going back to the team leader side of things, you can freely change your team goal anytime. So you're not locked in. You don't have to worry about restarting a team. I would just say I hope people jumping into a random team that might have one objective, and then the last minute the person might swap it. So for anybody that's kind of, I guess at the point we'd call it like pickup groups, it might kind of, I don't know, be a little more flexible on what you expect, because you might go in, it might be exploration, then all of a sudden they change it to like hunting, so you get more XP. I need to see if it's worth swapping between things. Some of these do seem pretty interesting. And again, for the whole public portion of this, you can also form a private team first and then make a public team. And it also says, if needed, you also have the ability to kick or block any players from your public team. So that's important, right? So even somebody that's in a position where they're jumping into events and they're trying to host events, and you want to make sure you're getting quality people joining your stuff, and that also helps you kind of block out the riffraff, we'll call it. Team goals and bonds. So this is where all the bonuses come into play. While on a public team, you will receive a small buff that's themed to align with your current team goal. And they do have them listed hunting. So I'll kind of look at it as hunting seems like a pretty decent one at a glance, but long term, I'm not sure if it's worth it. You get a 25% bonus for killing legendary enemies, and you get a 100% bonus for a fully bonded team, which to me just means you get into a team of 4, you guys start doing your stuff, and then you'll have eventually that pop up. So now you have to ask yourself again, if you go to, let's say, West Tech and you find one or two legendaries, is it really worth sacrificing one of these other potential buffs for just one or two additional kills? Because it's basically like you get a free kill if you're getting, twice the XP. So I don't think that one's really worth it unless you can swap. Like, let's just say I go to West Tech and I'm like, hey guys, there's a 3-star on me, and then you guys come to me after other things are dead, and then I swap to hunting. As long as it's pretty instantaneous, maybe that could be worth it. But at a glance, I don't see that one being worth it. Roleplay, bonus, charisma. So at a glance, if I'm looking at charisma, I'm going to say that's for selling stuff. If you ever need to maybe get a few extra points of charisma to sell something on an alt character, I don't know how you want to go about that, but that's where I see the extra charisma come into play. I think what? So charisma also impacts your event rewards. So I believe event rewards or like, what is it, missions or quests that you can do, I believe charisma is supposed to have higher chance of giving you something better, something along those lines, if I remember correctly. Like, also could maybe be worth it, but that's RNG. Events definitely seems to be one of the better ones. Bonus 25% XP again, or 100% if you have the full team that's fully bonded. Uh, I don't know. I think this one seems like the best because if you jump from event to event, you're getting twice the XP from a bunch of events. Now imagine how much we level up sometimes from doing nuke runs or something like that. If you're getting twice the XP for a nuke run, that could be very worth it. So I would say this is either I'll say there's two tied for which one I think is the best, but if we can swap them out pretty quickly and take advantage of different, let's say, bond buffs, then maybe we'll just swap between them, but I would say events seems to be tied for first. And the next one that they're listing is exploration. That's the other one I'm saying that's tied for first. If you have a fully bonded team, you can get 4 endurance. 4 endurance might not seem like a lot, but if, again, you don't want that extra XP from, let's say, a Scorch Beast Queen event, maybe 4 points of endurance could also help people that are dealing with ads or just, surviving the crop dusting from the Queen. So another thing to keep in mind, I would say those two are kind of tied in my opinion. And there's building and casual. So then that's intelligence and luck. So intelligence, I guess if you want to maybe scrap a bunch of things and you plan on getting a bunch more resources from, I don't know, if you're going to Uranium Fever, you scrap a bunch of stuff with, more intelligence, you're going to get more scrap and stuff, like your resources. And then when it comes to casual and then luck, so as far as I understand, in the game, the only thing that luck does for you is gives you a higher durability on your drops. So if you have a higher luck, you should be getting technically higher durability things, but do you really want to sacrifice either more XP or do you really want to sacrifice more like XP or HP or the potential of just a little bit more durability? So that's gonna be something I want to hear from people to see what they have to say. I don't know if that's gonna be worth it, honestly. But then it also says your teammates will likely be focused on their current team goal. Be sure to join a team that matches your interest or create a team of your own if you don't find the type of team you're looking for. You and your team will not be able to build in each other's camps. This is very important. However, you can still do this by forming or joining a normal private team. So you never have to worry about somebody joining your team with, malintent. They're going to come in and think they're going to either somehow I don't know, steal all your water that you've locked, or if they'll go through your ammo machine, or maybe go through, your your robot, or take your scrap, or your Foshnot whatever the case is, you can keep people out of your stuff, and then you can also eventually get your private party going again if you want to have people access those things. And then again, another kind of this little safety feature, we'll call it, says you also cannot open locked doors or containers that your public teammates have built without becoming wanted. So again, you can't just like form a team and think you're going to sneak into somebody's house or help yourself to things that they don't want anybody to kind of deal. So that's pretty good. I was happy when I saw that. Now getting to the design updates. So today's going to be a big L for PvPers because Team PvP and a couple other things were changed, but we're starting off with this. We've adjusted the rules of Team PvP for both private and public teams, so that a team member who engages in PvP with an outside player no longer also flags their teammates for PvP. So anytime somebody's getting frisky and they're on your team with somebody else, you don't have to worry. They can settle their own, scores, and you don't have to jump in. It says instead, teammates must start PvP combat with the outside player individually to join the fight. This will help prevent players, from being dragged in PvP combat that they didn't initiate, and that's again them listening to the community, because how many times that happened, unfortunately. And then all of a sudden, boom, Tesla, bing, 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 like a pinball machine. All of a sudden, you're dead. Congrats. User interface got some updates. So I actually like this one, the icon for the purveyor. So now if you go to the Rusty pick, there's actually a little mole miner themed icon to kind of stand out. So if anybody actually doesn't know where that is, it's a lot easier to explain if they've unlocked it. Um, Also, for some more map settings, teammate markers on the map have been enlarged and animated to make them easier to identify. Additionally, teammate names and player icons now only appear on your map when you hover over them. So that's going to help you, I guess, not have as much clutter on the map and make things easier to select. Settings. The chat volume audio setting is now completely independent of the master volume setting. So if anybody was in-game chat and messing with their settings, they couldn't hear with people previously, that will fix that. We're getting closer to the end of the notes here. We're getting some bug fixes. So for art and animation, there was a few. I would say look at the patch notes for anything that I'm not covering. I'm highlighting specific ones that directly have kind of affected myself, my community, or if I know people that this is going to kind of affect, I can point out examples. But for, let's say, these bug fixes, I know a few people complained about this. The rustic watermill, it now spins correctly. There were some issues before. Another one we have is the art, the treasure hunter insurgent hats no longer remove hair or facial hair when equipped. I know that was brought up a couple times. It's like, you put it on, all of a sudden your character is bald. The Red Rocket Ranger power armor, so anybody that was using that, the torso no longer clips through other power armor pieces. Um, more bugs, we have camps and workshop, right? So now this is going to, I guess, help with server stability, and I understand there were some bugs associated with people that were exploiting camp budget, but they did actually patch whatever the circus cage was doing. Apparently there was an exploit related to that to go past budget. Punji boards, so any trolley, let's say, trap bases will no longer work because you can no longer stack a bunch of these punji boards on top of each other. So I guess a trap base has to get a little bit more creative, or else it's not going to just instantly kill somebody. CD shed. Allies and collectrons can now enter and exit the CD shed more easily. Then they have the survival tent. So the survival tent one was actually a big one for me. The no-build area around a survival tent no longer remains in the world after the tent owner logs out or switches worlds. I've had this happen to me where just me switching my characters and having maybe a tent too close to one of my pre-existing bases has kept myself from spawning into my own spot, which shouldn't have happened in the first place. So I am happy about that. And then for camps, turrets, fixed an issue causing turrets that have been destroyed and then repaired to have a significant delay when engaging enemies. I mean, they're saying right now, please note, turrets are still intended to take a 2 to 3 second, kind of delay to acquire a target and begin firing. I don't know about you guys, but I sometimes have turrets that just do not fire for the longest time. And it definitely doesn't feel like a 2 to 3 second delay, so I'll try to keep note if that's what happened. Maybe they were repaired and then just kind of broken. Challenges. So I guess this might have also been more related to going from nuclear winter into an adventure like mode right after. It says general, fix an issue that could cause daily and weekly challenges to complete themselves automatically. I don't know if that's exactly what I just described. We ran into that a few times, or if we went into nuclear winter first, or even, sometimes it randomly happened that you go in, it's cleared for you, basically saying that they're completed. Now you're not going to be getting those atoms, you're going to be getting the score points, so let's kind of pay attention if we miss out on any for any weird reason. Combat. So there's an exploit they addressed, an issue that could result in a player becoming invulnerable after dying under very specific circumstances. Again, this is a momentous day for anybody dealing with a bunch of trolls, because now there's no more God mode. So we'll just leave it at that. Enemies, Scorch Beasts can no longer be turned into ash or goo piles on death. That helps for us looting them in the middle of nowhere, the southern portion of the map. And then the Wendigo Colossus now has a 10% flat spawn rate when nuking any of the potential spawn locations. I don't know if certain areas were better than the other. I do understand that there was a couple spots that you could nuke and hit two of the Wendigo Colossus spawns at the same time. But now this is kind of good for us to know what they want for a chance for it to spawn. So now we have to justify if it's a 10% chance of spawning, do I really want to run the risk of launching 10 nukes before finding one? Um, but again, I also know that we were able to leave nuke zones without the Wendigo Colossus there and come back, and sometimes it would spawn. I also don't know if that's related to people joining the server. I'll try to look a little more into that, but things to keep in mind. Some item fixes. Armor. Mods can now be correctly applied to robot armor arm pieces. I didn't know that was an issue. I don't think I have too many robot armor arm pieces, but anyway, that does. Now your stuff works. There's a couple things for bows. Standard arrow range for the bow and compound bow reduced to match all other arrow types. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that just means for some reason the bow and the compound bow as a stock item had better range than the other arrows. I don't know. It says bows and crossbows with plasma mod now correctly deal energy damage in addition to their normal damage. So that apparently wasn't doing the full amount of damage. Again, momentous day, nuke mines. Radiation from nuke mines no longer affects friendly or neutral players. So anybody that's chilling there with their 1,000+ nuke mines, you might as well start selling them to vendors or something. Scrolling down the list a little bit more, we have Under Armour. Added a number of mod plans to the game for Secret Service Under Armour. Purchased them from regs in Vault 79 using the gold bullion. So they're already adding more stuff. They're already adding more mods and stuff that you can buy from him, as if we didn't already have enough things to purchase. Mutations. Electrically charged will no longer proc when attacked by another player outside of PvP. Again, that was used as an exploit for PvPers. Well, rip that. NPCs. This is a pretty good one too. I know some people were complaining about this. I didn't experience these issues, but I also didn't, let's say, for the first one, I didn't talk to Beckett. Now Beckett now correctly offers daily quests after completing his main quest line. I think on my one character that went through all of Beckett's stuff, I maybe did one mission for him. I think I had issues getting the next one, but then I got the next kind of ally that I could bring to my camp, so I didn't actually experience issues for long. So that is fixed now. Another for allies. Fix an issue that could prevent the Raider Punk from offering the player new daily quests. Again, similar issue. So anybody that was having those issues, it should be good now. And in terms of other NPCs, I found this is pretty interesting. So now, Roxy, Ward, and Ren are now supposed to all be stationary. I haven't even jumped onto the game yet, but I've already had people tell me that's like they're already kind of wandering around. Um, but Roxy is now stationary and can be found leaning against the school bus and crater. Ward can now be found sitting behind his desk in his trailer in Foundation. And then Ren, also in crater, can now be found at her console. So let's see how long before we run into any issues with that. Smiley. Smiley no longer accepts caps from players attempting to purchase additional gold bullion after they have already reached the gold bullion limit. So I guess people were actually accidentally purchasing more than they should, something like that. All right, and now that we're getting to the performance and stability, this is, I'm just going to kind of say there's multiple client stability, server stability, things that they post. They're saying addressed a bunch of crashes, whether it's server crash or just like an overall crash, related to anything from Pip-Boy stuff, nuclear winter stuff, dialogue with NPCs, projectiles. One of them just says address multiple server crashes that occur during normal gameplay. So they added some specific ones, but then that one's like the icing on the cake. Just occurring during normal gameplay. So that's great. Hopefully we notice a lot less crashes. And there are some more specific ones if you guys want to check that out. Going on to perks. They did fix some perks. I'm going to list a few of them. Cannibal, Mysterious Stranger, and the perk card packs were kind of fixed. Going backwards though, perk card packs fixed a bug preventing some perk cards from appearing in perk card packs. My one character is like almost 130 and Nuclear Winter, and it's never gotten frog legs as a random card it received. I don't know if that's what it means. Maybe I can start receiving, let's say, frog legs as I open up perk cards. Maybe. Or statistically, I'm bound to get one on my next kind of opening anyway, let's say. The Mysterious Stranger, and I remember this bug from Fallout 4, fixed an issue where the Mysterious Stranger would sometimes not attack. Like it'll spawn, it'll stare at the target and then not do anything. So that's apparently fixed. And for Cannibal, the Cannibal perk no longer allows the player to eat non-humanoid corpses. I don't remember what Cannibal was also letting you eat that they added that, but that is now fixed. There are multiple quests and events. One that I do want to mention is one that I kind of went through and I saw a few people post on this specific one on Reddit. Funning games, when you're doing funning games, moving to meet up with Rara too quickly after saving her from the second set of laser turrets no longer sometimes causes her to become stuck or run in the wrong direction. I had her stuck, unfortunately. So that one, like I said, directly affected me. There are other ones that they've fixed between Vital Equipment, Thicker Than Water, Strength in Numbers, Strange Bedfellows, Secrets Revealed, Hunter for Hire, Cheating Death, and AWOL. Some of those seem a little bit more minor, though, not as, let's say, game breaking. Then going down to some last things, they mentioned some more stuff on UI. Containers fixed an issue that could cause the transfer button to be grayed out and unusable when attempting to access some containers. I run into that before. I wasn't sure what that bug was, but I guess that's fixed now. For PC players, they fixed an issue that could prevent them from using the mouse to equip and unequip perk cards. That sounds pretty game breaking if you can't go through that stuff. Icons, player icons awarded by Nuclear Winter challenges now appear correctly in game while equipped. So I know a few of us in the community actually had that, where the icons weren't showing up. I don't know if that was also Nuclear Winter icons that were being used, but I know that was an issue. A couple more. We have a Pip-Boy. Quests now sort in alphabetical order. So, I mean, that's just, I guess, personal preference. And then another one that is, this is the key one from all of these UI fixes, in my opinion. Respawn. Fixed an issue causing players to lose carry weight bonuses while dead, which could prevent them from respawning at locations other than Vault 76. So from now on, when my bloodied, unyielding character dies at a Scorch Beast Queen, I'm not taking a one-way ticket to Vault 76 and nowhere else, or go into my social menu to respawn on my teammates, but I should be able to spawn in areas around. Straight up, one of the loading screens in the game says something like, in the event of your untimely demise, you will be able to respawn at your camp, nearby location, or Vault 76. Well, for my, time playing this game, I've never had such a luxury. But that is fixed, and watch me run into that problem anyway. I'll be optimistic, but I'm gonna keep I'll keep my worries in the back of my head, I guess, for now. And then for the just various encounters in the world. They fixed multiple locations in the world where players could become stuck. I mean, we have that sometimes running into Nuclear Winter. We have to get creative to get ourselves unstuck. I think an unstuck like feature or button when you pause the game could go a long way. Just make somebody teleport, 5 feet in any given direction. I don't know. And then the last ones they wrap it up with is Nuclear Winter bug fixes. I didn't actually know about this until reading this. There was an exploit, addressed an exploit that could allow the player to become immune to taking damage from the storm and from taking radiation damage. So I don't think we've ever really ran into an issue where we weren't gaining radiation damage in a storm. I think closest thing to that we've ever encountered was when there's like two nukes close to each other. Sometimes that messes up the area where you gain radiation. I don't think that's actually what they're talking about. This sounds more like somebody becomes invincible and goes into the storm and doesn't die when they should. I'm not too sure. And then the last thing I want to be mentioning here is for perks, they fixed an issue causing attacks with the overly generous perk card equipped to deal less than intended amount of radiation damage. That pretty much wraps up all the different notes for today. I mean, again, even if stuff is getting pushed back, I'm going to be again in favor of things being delayed and polished and released in a manner that makes sense. If we now have these test servers where people can go in, give feedback, it's going to be the community at the end of the day that's going to also help push the game forward and test these things where they don't, I guess, have the full capacity. It's like, if you have a bunch of people also helping you spot things, you have a higher chance of coming across these crazy bugs. But overall, with seasons coming out, the Legendary Run, public teams, let's see what else we got here as a quick wrap up. Again, I know people's concern is going to be the game's going pay to win. We're not gaining atoms, and so it's going to be something where it's just play the game and enjoy it, and then you're going to be getting unlocks. You're going to get some spare, change to spend, whether it's caps, bullion, or the atoms. Um, and we're not going to be able to buy something right away. We're not going to be able to the day of a season coming out, just spend $150 to go straight to 100. You are forced to wait 2 weeks. So I think this 2 weeks is a very smart move on Bethesda's part because one, that kind of also allows them to dodge a bullet of saying it's pay to win out the, like the gate pretty much. I hope it's basically 2 weeks for every season, not just this opening one. Because at least, again, this is going to force people to try. It's almost like don't complain, try, see how the rewards are, make up your mind for yourself. Don't just, look at some sort of, oh, you can spend atoms as a pay to win thing. At the end of the day, and there's going to be people that are willing to spend that anyway. You can't, I guess, fully combat that. Again, I'm excited to test out teams. I'm going to jump between exploration and events for XP and the endurance bonuses. There's multiple notes here that I've covered that also prevent, let's say, unwanted PvP. I'm sure there's still bugs we're going to run into regardless, but this should cut down a lot of stupidity that you run into. So I'm happy that's fixed. Again, the performance and stability notes they went over is extensive in terms of saying fix this, server crash, client crash, fix things while that might have occurred during normal gameplay. So this is good. This is a good list of notes. It doesn't seem like they added a lot, but it seems like they fixed a lot, and that's what I would rather see. I would rather see them sprinkle in a couple of different things here and there, and then fix a bunch of stuff, rather than add a bunch of stuff and then fix a couple things, and then the next patch is full of, okay, we fixed this from the last one. But overall, I'm happy. I'm going to test this out. I'm going to see. I'm going to jump into some teams. I'm going to go into the legendary run. I'm going to test out how far I can get in terms of this 10-week season. Is this something that we're going to fly through in just a few weeks? And then we're going to be like, okay, well, now we're waiting for the next content. Because we also have to remember, at the end of the day, Bethesda's going to also cater more towards casual players. And they're going to try, I would assume, to spread it out so a casual player can put a couple hours a day into it and get what they need to. If it's a 10-week season and it's supposed to take you, what, 2 hours, I think they said, towards like an average. Um, I'd have to look that up, but I think it says something like 2 hours, maybe an hour, 2 hours. If it's an hour alone and it's 100 and we have 10 weeks, so start to break down how much that's going to be per week that you need to get kind of taken care of. And again, in a couple weeks, let's take a look to see if people are really buying things and just jumping straight to the end. If we see people in game with like the Captain Cosmo stuff and, we're very far behind, that could be a telltale sign of people, whipping out the wallets. But let's see. Again, I'm happy. I'm going to be optimistic. And then the next update should have, let's say, the what, Wendigo Colossus event? Fingers crossed, no more bugs and things that are found on the PTS. But in any case, hope you guys found this informative.